Yo, what's good, fam? It's your man Greg, aka G Breezy, making it easy, back with another video about how to shoot a simple music video. Let's get to the freaking point. To shoot a music video, you need to look at it in 3 sections: prep, filming, and post. In other words, editing. When it comes to the prep, what you want to do is you want to come up with locations. So you'll do some location scouting to figure out, hey, where do I want to film this video? What fits the theme of this song? If your song is any more than like 2 or 3 minutes, you definitely want to have at least 2 locations so that your video does not get boring. The next thing you want to do is come up with a shot list. A shot list is basically a list of everything you intend on filming so that when you get on the set, you can just flow smooth like butter. The next thing you want to think about in terms of prep is maybe an equipment list. I don't always do this, but I definitely need to. You want to make a list of all of the equipment that you'll need to bring with you on this particular day. A lot of times if it's run and gun, you really won't need too much, but when you're filming, you definitely want to have at least a loudspeaker so that when you're editing the video in post, you'll be able to sync the music, which we'll get to in a second. So that's the prep part. Once you've established the prep, you want to get into the filming part. Normally, you want to film in 24 frames per second, and you'll want to do at least 3 takes for each location. 1 tight, 1 medium, and 1 wide shot. Usually what I'll do is I'll have my Sigma 24 to 70 millimeter lens, and I'll use 24 millimeters for the wide shot, 50 millimeters for the medium shot, which is usually my favorite, and then 70 millimeters for my close shot. Sometimes I'll switch the lens and do 85 millimeters for the tight shot. Once you do that, you should have about 5 or 6 takes for your music video. You're gonna need these because you need the video not to get boring. You'll sync them all up when we go to edit. The other thing you wanna think about when it comes to the filming is stability. Depending on your song, you might need some nice smooth shots. I recommend a gimbal, right? I use the Ronin S. Mine has a little attachment on it. This is the original old Ronin S, very heavy. But this is what I use for the particular video that we'll be going through today. Okay, once you got your stability together, the next thing that you want to think about is B-roll. B-roll is supporting footage that helps you tell your story better. Most of the time when we see B-roll, it's in slow motion. So you'll want to film your B-roll in 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second if your camera is able to do that. And what you'll do is you'll actually slow the 60 frames per second down 40%. That's going to keep your ratio at that same 24 frames per second cinematic look. Same thing with the 120, you'll slow that down 20%, and that's gonna give you some nice, smooth, slow motion. 60 frames per second is usually more than enough. 120 frames per second is if you really wanna capture something really smooth, like a dog shaking off some water, or something that just goes really fast. So that is the filming portion of it. While you're filming, as I mentioned, you wanna play the song on a loudspeaker so that the camera can pick up the audio so that when you go to sync the song, everything will flow smoothly. And so the next part to film the video is the actual editing process or post, right? And so that's what we're gonna get into right now. But basically, the editing process is you syncing the takes or the footage to the song. Once you get that synced, what you wanna do is go through and cut the song at every hi-hat or after every line in the song to get a nice flow to the video. Once you get your cuts done, now you can begin to add transitions, effects, color grading, whatever else you need to do to make the video cool. Then you throw your B-roll on top of that wherever it matters. And then finally you throw your text, the title of your video, who shot the video, whatever the case may be. But let's go into this very first paid music video that I shot by an artist named Arch Prophet. He has a song called Joy Never Dies. We shot this video. It is both a short film and a music video. We're gonna start with the music video portion of it. Let's get into it. All right, so what we see on the screen is we have Final Cut Pro open. Final Cut Pro has a feature where you can actually sync the music with your takes. So I'm gonna highlight the song Joy Never Dies, which is right here. And I'm gonna also hold down Command, I believe. Let's make sure it's Command. And I'm gonna do my takes. So I'm gonna take Coffee 1, which was our first shot, Coffee 2, which was our second shot, Rooftop was a take that we did, and Rooftop Walk was a take that we did, and finally Randy Alone was a take that we did. We did about 5 takes for this video. This particular video was more of a story, more cinematic, so I didn't do my typical 3 medium, wide, close. This was more like a whole story that he's telling. Once you get all of these selected, what you're gonna do is you're going to right-click, and then you're going to select New Multicam Clip. When you select New Multicam Clip, it's gonna bring up an option for you to rename it. We're gonna rename this Joy Never Dies Multi 2. And the reason I'm doing 2 is because I've already done this in the other take. So we're gonna hit OK. And you see that it has a check mark for Use Audio Synchronization. That basically is saying, do you want to include the audio? This is why it's important when you film your video, you have the audio in your camera turned up really high, or you bring with you a portable Bluetooth speaker. So Final Cut Pro is doing this thing. What it's doing now is it's actually producing a multicam clip. Now you see here, this is the multicam clip that is produced. We're gonna drag this into our timeline, right? In this multicam clip, what we're gonna do is go through and chop everything up. The way that we do that is this way. We're gonna go to View. We're gonna drop down and we're gonna select Angles, right? Basically, all of the takes that we have selected, right? Now, what you'll notice is as I drag this, let me get our menu out the way. As I drag my cursor, what you'll notice is that it has each one of these takes. So what we'll do is we can right click, and what you'll see is there's an option for you to select which take you want to use, right? The audio that we're going to use is going to be the Joy Never Dies, and we're going to keep that the same. It looks like it doesn't start until here, so we can drag this a little bit. And as we go through, what you'll notice is your cursor is going to turn to scissors. And each time you hit one of these scissors, right, it's going to make a cut in the video.
We're connected like the ocean. So much joy is in my portion. So much joy you thought I stole some. Now my cup runneth over. And the joy just keeps.
All right, so I made a few cuts here. So basically what you'll notice is as I go through and play the video, you're gonna see the cuts that I made.
Connected like the ocean. So much joy is in my portion. So much joy you thought I stole some. Now.
Okay, so I think you get the point. Now, let's say that we want to add some B-roll to this footage, all right? Now, what I'm doing right here is very much just a sample, but in a minute, we'll go through the finished product. If I want to add some B-roll, what I can do is I can actually look at anything that I shot in 60 frames per second. For example, this particular shot right here. When I drag it to my timeline, I can pretty much just plop it in wherever I think it fits. and you want to drag your volume down. And what you want to do with 60 frames per second, so what you want to do is you want to click on your B-roll. When you click on your B-roll, you can go to this icon here, which is to time it, and go to custom. Now, in this particular case, our B-roll is at 60 frames per second, so we want to slow this down about 40%. Not 400, 40. All right. So once you slow this down 40%, what you'll notice is that it's going to be nice and smooth.
In my portion. So much joy you thought I stole.
Let me expand this a little bit more so y'all can really see how smooth this is.
So much joy you thought I stole some.
All right, so that's how we sync, that's how we cut, that's how we plop on B-roll. Other than that, all you have to do is color grade, and I'll just go through a quick example of how I did this color grade. I'm not a colorist, I'm not a color grade expert, but I'm gonna show you how I do a quick color grade. So what I would do is highlight the clip that I want to color grade. I'm gonna go to this icon here, and I'm gonna go to, personally, I start with the exposure, all right? I'm gonna go to view, and I'm gonna go to video scopes. When we go to video scopes, what you'll find is there's a scale from 0 to 100. This is letting you know if you're blowing out your highlights or if you're crushing your shadows. So I'm going to expand this up, and as you see me expand it up, I go all the way to 100. So I don't want to eclipse 100 because then I will be blowing out my highlights. From there, what I usually do is I go to my shadows under the exposure and I drag this down. And when I drag that down, sometimes I might drag it a little bit under 0. You can customize this to your preference. You drag it down to something that looks reasonable. That kind of gets your exposure together. Then I go to saturation. You can increase your highlights. You can increase your shadows. You can increase your midtones. And what you would do basically is you would kind of play with this clip until you really get the look that you're looking for. All right. My exposure is here. I'm not sure why everything kind of reset, but anyway. And so if I want to kind of like, you know, get this to where I want it to be, I would tweak it. What I usually do as well is sometimes I might use a LUT. Most of the time somebody has pre-made these. And in Final Cut Pro, what you would do is you would go to down here to your effects. And under your video effects, you can search custom LUT. Now I'm going to take this custom LUT and I'm going to drag it into the footage that I'm editing, right? And you can get LUTs from various people. You can buy them. Some people give them away for free. In this particular case, I'll have some LUTs that I purchased from YC Imaging, who's like the GOAT of all of this video editing stuff, one of the GOATs, and a YouTube GOAT. And so then I will go to, for example, interlude. I don't know if I like that. It's on 100. We can always adjust it. Buford, you know what I mean? And so what you want to do is just kind of, what I do is I start with a LUT on 100 just to see what it's trying to do. And once I get one that really kind of works for me, then I'll kind of scale it back. So for the sake of time, let's just go with this golden one. And we'll kind of bring this down to like 20%, 25%. So we can see the difference here. Off, on, just made it a little bit more crisp, a little bit more contrasty in this case. And this is just an example. So that's basically how you edit a music video. You film it, you synchronize it, you cut it, and then you add in transitions. Let's add in a transition or an effect. In this case, it's a nice slow song, so a nice cross dissolve goes really well. By the way, when you do edit when you do color grade or edit a take, one of the things you can do is you can go up to edit and then you can copy, right? And let's say, for example, I wanted to take my color grade and I want to paste my color grade onto another clip. What I can do is I can highlight the clip that I want to do, and then I'll go up to edit and I'll go up to paste. And one of the things I can paste is the effects. I can paste the attributes. Let's go to paste attributes. So I can paste my attributes here. I can paste the color board, which is the color grade I just did. And I can also place the custom LUT that I added to this particular video. So we're going to paste that in. This is just example. It doesn't have to be perfect. So let's see with our transition we edited, how smooth of a transition we got.
So much joy.
Nice smooth transition. What if I wanted to make that transition even more seamless or even more dragged out?
So much joy.
Oh, let me move this B-roll out the way so it doesn't block what I'm trying to show you with this. All right, let's do that one last time.
So much joy is in my portion.
Boom, there you have it. That's how you edit a music video. You would do this throughout the entire video, cut it where you want, add your transitions, add your color grade, you're in business. Now what I want to do is I want to actually kind of walk through a little bit of the behind the scenes or the what it was like to go through this video. So we're gonna just go through this really quickly. One of the things I did was I added a cinematic letterbox to give it that cinematic look. What I'm talking about is the black bars that you see at the top and bottom. What I did was I added an adjustment layer, which you can find plenty of places for free. And the purpose of an adjustment layer is that anything you apply to that adjustment layer is gonna impact all of the footage. You just need to make sure that it's above everything on the timeline, right? So in this case, in my adjustment layer, I added a letterbox. Where you would get the letterbox is you would go down to your installed effects. You would go to the bottom right here and just search letterbox. And when you drag the letterbox onto the clip, you can drag it on there, it'll show up, and you can change the aspect ratio. So it's gonna default at like 1/1.85 or something like that. If you want that cinematic letterbox look, you wanna switch this to 2.351, and that's gonna give you that cinematic look. So let's walk through this, and I'll just kind of tell you the whole story of filming all of this. So the idea behind this song is Tim is gonna walk into the store and play the lottery. On his way out, Randy is gonna give him a gospel track, sharing the good news of Jesus Christ. And Tim is gonna have the lottery ticket and he's gonna have the gospel track. He's gonna win the lottery. He's gonna get rich. He's gonna ball out of control, but he's gonna lose all his money. And herein lies the song, Joy Never Dies. So let's just walk through it. I'm gonna take you more of like the technical stuff, since hopefully that's why y'all are here. So what I did there is I kind of did like a custom thing where I did a keyframe. I did the letterbox across the entire video, but I did a keyframe to open it. So what I effectively did was I kind of started this at half the screen for the top and bottom. There's much easier ways in how I did it, but I started it and then just moved it up and moved it to the bottom to kind of give you that window opening look. Now, see, this is why I need the gimbal, because Tim is really tall. I'm kind of tall, but Tim is really tall. And if I were to try to follow him handheld, this would not have come out nearly as smooth. Randy went in, asked the guy, could we film? They said yes. So here's just this shot with the gimbal. Now, when I go in here, I actually had to manually adjust the ISO because it was darker inside than outside. So you might hear a few little minor clicks. The music I'm using is from Artlist. As a matter of fact, I did a bunch of cuts, right? Because I'm trying to trim this down because a song 3 minutes is already long enough. Now, you can hear Tim say, hey man, let me get a DC Lotto. Initially, we were not gonna have any real-time audio in this opening short film part. But, you know, I kept it in. I used the preamps from the Sony, which was passable. But if I knew we were gonna keep him talking, I would have given him a lav mic.
We get one.
Coming around him with the gimbal. All right, so that's that scene. Let's fast forward. Next scene, Tim wins the lotto. I got a little bit lazy on this one, I'll admit. So I came from behind the TV, try to do a little bit of a reveal, but he wins. Very shaky. I got lazy, I'll admit. So we just did some B-roll here. That's me giving him his car, one of his cars, because he lost $20 million apparently. We did a countdown here. If you want to know how I did that, just comment below and I'll explain or shoot you the video that I looked at to do that. But basically, just kind of got the numbers going on the screen. He buys a car, he buys a bunch of clothes, then he loses all his money and he becomes depressed. Now, one of the challenges I had was not getting my own shadow in this particular shot. So you want to be mindful of your lighting. You want to be mindful of your composition. I'm trying to see if you can see any of my shadow in any of this. Let's see. That's probably my shadow right there, but it's probably not noticeable to the naked eye. Yeah, that's me. That's my shadow again. So this is kind of like the kinks we working out. This is why we the scrub squad, you know what I mean? We scrubbing over here. All right, that's my shadow again. Hopefully nobody's noticing. He reads the track. There's a number on the track. He calls Randy. Now the video starts. Let's just kind of look at what we got.
We're connected like the ocean.
Some nice slow motion.
So much joy is in my portion.
Now, another thing I want to note is when I shot Randy alone, I basically shot him with the 70mm focal length, and he was kind of moving a little bit, and I was kind of moving. With the gimbal, I was very smooth going from left to right. But when you're doing a tight shot like that, sometimes you can lose him in the frame. In some parts it worked, some parts it didn't. You guys will see what I'm talking about. We won't go through the whole thing. I'll put the link to this video up so you can just kind of watch the finished product.
So much joy you thought I stole some. Now my cup runneth over, and the joy just keeps flowing.
Now this is an example of how like it kind of worked and didn't work. So this is the 70mm. I'm kind of close and I'm revolving around him. Then he kind of, you know, like goes back a little bit, and then boom, he's like all the way at the bottom of the frame. It's not so bad, but that's just something to be mindful of.
And the joy just keeps flowing. And the joy just keeps flowing. Joy never.
Yeah, so take like that, you know what I mean? A moment like that. And when you come in with the boom, you want to do a nice flash or something like that to just kind of start the song and set it off. And you'll see in a moment, we're just going to kind of go through this take.
Joy Joy never dies, joy never dies, joy never dies. How do I explain this joy? How do I explain eternal bliss? What can I point you to? No earthly reference. Makes my heart belong, puts my soul on skates. We can share.
That was some B-roll just there, slowed down. And so we kind of go through this. I'm not going to belabor the point. I think we get the idea. You know what I mean? This video was kind of funny because it's like Tim calls Randy's number to kind of link up so Randy can evangelize to him. But I was trying to make it look like they weren't on a date. So I had to kind of, you know, deal with that accordingly, but it's all good. Did a lot of keyframes as well. So even though some of the footage was zoomed in, it's a little bit more zoomed in. Probably overdid it with the sun flares, but I think a lot of people liked it.
Jesus, what a friend. We're connected like the ocean.
Cool. There's a certain part where he kind of started getting in his bag a little bit, so I incorporated some different transitions. I think this is it.
You smoke the kush, but you'll never get this rush. Over all my blues, guess I'm styled by Levi Strauss. There's no more room, guess I need a bigger cup. Overall, that's cool, never made a measure up. His word changed my view.
Yeah, so you want to edit to the music. So anytime you get any of those booms, you want to kind of like build it up just like the song builds it up and then give it that crescendo or that climax or however you want to call it. So other than that, family, I think we have covered how to edit a music video. So y'all make sure y'all check that video out. Arch Prophet, Joy Never Dies. Link will be in the description as well as at the top of this video. I think we covered it all. Just a quick recap. You want to prep, you want to shoot, and you want to edit, right? Those are all you need to do. Thank y'all for watching this video. I really appreciate y'all. Hopefully you learned something from this. You all take care and be blessed.